Morning. Page 61. We started talking about compass directions. So compass directions is just, I would always recommend you having a compass rose to get us started. And you always want to pay close attention to the first letter because that's where you start measuring from, and then move towards the other letter. Okay, so if it's north 25 west, you're starting north and then you go towards west in the degrees that are stated. Okay, so that is important. That line is very important. I'm going to say this many times that these dashed lines, right, are not necessarily part of the resulting triangle. Okay, a lot of students make that mistake. They're just there for reference. Okay, they're not necessarily part of the triangle. So we talked about that. We talked about south 15 east means you start on the south line anywhere and then you turn 15 degrees towards east, right? And so that's the resulting, this is where you would be headed. And compass directions are, we don't use them for like traveling with a car or anything like that. It would be more like being on water, right? Ocean or whatever. We can actually just cut right through where we want to go. Or if you hiking through the forest, you can, to a certain degree, no pun intended, you can just like cut right through, right? Bushes and whatnot. But in the city, you can't do that. You can't go through buildings, right? And then I also went the other way. If I stated something like this, could you write the direction that is representing? Could you write the compass direction? And so the key is to always start with, right, either north, west, south, or east. You start with one of those lines, and then you just say, okay, I'm going 32 degrees south in this case, towards the south. And that's how you do that. Okay. Then I started just briefly on page 62, and I did rush a little bit, so I'm going to maybe emphasize some of the things that I want you to make sure you understand. It's impossible to cover all scenarios, but you'll get the idea after a few on how to deal with them, okay? Now, the first one is you see a tree that is due east of you, okay? So this is very important. If this is you, the tree is directly east. So the tree, pay close attention, represents two things. It represents an object, but it also happens to be right along the east line. Okay, so this is like a 2-in-1. It's right on your east line. So I would label both. So if this is north, then we know, I'm going to use a red pen. You actually know that between the north line and the east line, we know that there's a 90 there. Right there, you have that 90, you're guaranteed, okay? And then it says, from the same location, you notice that a deer is standing north 40 degrees west. So I start on my north line, and I turn 40 degrees towards west, and that's where the deer is. Pay close attention. The deer is not on north, west, or south, or east line, okay? The deer is actually off of a slant here. Okay, so now how far is the deer from the tree, it's asking. So this is the line that you kind of dash in, okay? So if I were to now, these are the two sides of the triangle. Now finally, I'm going to connect where the deer is with the tree. So this would be kind of like the ultimate question that we're asked to solve. This is what I call the interpretation. You interpret the question, and it can get a bit messy, but I want you to then come up with a clean version of it. What's that, Mr. Rickson? Get rid of you see how I have that north line there? I don't want that. I don't want that north in there. So what I do is I try to copy it. I just go kind of measure that side, bring it with me, and just try to replicate what you've just drawn. But this is going to have less stuff in it. Right? So this is you, tree, and deer. Okay? So what do we know? In this case, we know very little. This is not a solvable case. That's not the point. But what would this angle be right here? Angle Y, if you want to talk about it. Would it be 40? 130. I hear 130. It's not 40. But guess what? A lot of times, students like, oh, 40, 40. Right? It's not 40. It's what? It's 90 plus another 40. Right? So this is 90 plus 40. That's what this is. That's 130 degrees. Okay. However, I would say that this is rare. That you can be guaranteed to have a 90 here is not very common. It's because it's due east of you. So it's almost like if I could just have a dashed line going very close, it should be right on the direction of where the tree is, but it's the east line that the one side of the triangle is sitting on. Okay, so here we go. That's your clean triangle. And not solvable, obviously, but that's not the point right now. The point is just, can you read, interpret, and kind of translate it into a triangle that we can then solve down the road. Let's do another one. And I asked you to try it, right? So if you're now redoing it, there's lots of room. I would encourage you to just be like, if yours isn't right, just like cross it off like this. Cross it. Don't necessarily erase it. Because I don't know about you, but I learn from my mistakes. And if I see, say, oh, this is how it's not done, right? It's a reminder, don't make that mistake, okay? Okay, it says here, you travel 12 kilometers in the direction north 30 east. This goes together. This is a package deal, right? It gives you distance and direction. Okay, that's important. Like it has a distance and a direction, that one side of the triangle. Then you turn, very important, and you head north 50 degrees west for 7 kilometers. Right, distance plus direction. Sometimes there's only direction, sometimes there's only distance, but in this case we have both. Okay, how far are you from the starting point? It's asking. So we'll sketch this. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so where should you start on your paper? Can I say something? Be okay with erasing on these ones, specifically on these ones. You have to be okay with it. So I'm going north 30 east first. So if you have on your study sheet, you have a little reminder, right? You're like north, south, right? West, east. Okay. So you're kind of going, if it says north 30, you're going to go in this direction. Do you see up in the corner what I'm doing there? You're going to travel that way. So I'm going to kind of give myself some space, and I'm going to make a compass rose because this is compass direction territory. Okay. And I'm going to say this is my north, and I'm going to start north and then turn 30 degrees east. And I'm going to draw my line from this dot. The starting point is right at the center of my compass rose. I'm turning 30 degrees that way, and I'm going to draw my line. Here we go. And this line has a distance, so we're going to go 12 kilometers. Okay, so I'm estimating approximately. It's not drawn to scale. Next, you turn. Okay, so this is your starting point. Then you turn here. So before I write, I'm just going to say, okay, at this point, something happens. I change my course. So I'm going to make a compass rose there again. Because remember, it follows you wherever you go, actually. What does it say here? North 50 west. So I'm going to start from my north line again and turn 50 degrees west. So it's a bigger angle, right? 50 degrees. And then I go for 7 kilometers. And I want to say something right here. You ready for this one? Because this is probably going to save you a lot of grief. It says that we're traveling 7 kilometers in this direction, correct? But it never says that you keep traveling until you get to this straight, like this north line right here where I have my ruler, goes straight up to here, right? A lot of students extend this line until it perfectly aligns with the starting point. And that is not true. That is only true if the question specifically states that. So I will encourage you to actually, how about we do that here? We're going to extend this one, this dashed line, just lightly. Because remember, the north line goes indefinitely, technically. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm not going to make contact with the north line that is here from the start going straight up. So we know that this is how long? 7 kilometers, correct? So we're going to go 7 kilometers like that. I'll make a note here. Question, if you can read that, I hope so. Question does not say that we touch the north line. Okay. Can you read that? Question does not say that. So you have two choices. You either fall short, don't touch it, or you shoot past. Like you could have gone way past if you wanted to, but don't end up right here. Unless the question says you keep traveling for 7 kilometers until you are due north of where you started. That's a different story. Okay. So I hope you understand that fact. So this is where we turn. This is where we stop. Let's go end. Okay, can we go end? Because then there's S here and S there. Let's just go. This is where I end up. This is the interpretation. Let's come up with our clean triangle now. So we get rid of the north-south. All of that is gone now. So I'm going to try my best. I'm going to just copy that over here. Same sort of angle. Then I'm going to go like this. Then I'm going to go and close it. So this is my start. This is my turn. This is where I end up. Now you have to be careful. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands because it might be too risky. But do you think this 30 here, you think it's safe to assume that it comes in here? Because it kind of looks like it, right? Like, hey, 30, it kind of looks like the same size. We're all good to go. But guess what? The 30 is measured from the north line, correct? The north line is going right here. I think it's worth, for our example, to just say that the north line is over here. This is the north line, okay? That's this one right here. Maybe I'll use a highlighter for that. This is my north line. This is my north line. Can I use the 30? And the answer is no, it cannot use the 30 because it's this side here, that this resulting side that I connected between my starting point and the end line is right here. It cuts the 30 smaller. So the 30 is not in here, cannot do that, okay? So what else can we do, Mr. Dirksen? I'm kind of stuck here. Watch this. This north-south line is parallel to that north-south line. Oh my goodness, that's where we're going again, right? So this 30 can come in here, right there. 30. Right? Alternate interior. Okay, alternate interior. We already have this 50 here, correct? So is there a way to find, because this is the angle that we really want, this one right here. That would represent this one in your clean version here. How can we find that in this case? We've got a 180 here. The north-south line is a straight line, and we've got both of these angles in this particular case. So we're just going to go 180 minus 30 minus 50. And we end up with 100 degrees. You're following me, right? It's early in the morning. Okay. And that goes in there. So what about the 50? What about the 30? Nope, they just helped you to find the angle that's inside the triangle. Okay. So I would say over here, if you want to add to your notes, alternate interior are congruent. That's our artificial intelligence. Alternative interior. So anyways, so we've got that figured out. So this is our clean. We have to transfer some more. The 12 kilometers, no problem. That comes with us. The 7 kilometers, this side, that comes with us. I will just make a note here. Not 30 degrees. Okay? It's not 30 degrees in that corner. This is our clean. You're like, it's not really clean, it's very messy, but it's cleaner than this one up here. Right? So I'd like you to have a clean version. What is the ultimate question now? We've spent so much time just setting this up. How far are you from your starting point? They're really asking for, right? This is the question mark here. X is equal to, or lowercase t if you'd like, but this is what they're asking us for. What would we use to solve that? What kind of triangle do we have? SAS, right? Cosine law? Okay. So x squared, SAS by the way. No pair, there's no pair. X squared would be 7 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 7 times 12 times cosine of the only angle in this triangle. There we go. I will spare you the details because I know you know how to plug this in. It's 222.17 and something. And if you take the root of that, you get 14.91 kilometers. It's within reasonable, and a reasonable amount. It's a lot across the largest angle. It is the longest side. Lots of checks and balances to let us know we're doing things right, especially when you do these types of questions. If you set it all up and you solve and you get this to be like the shortest side, ding, 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 right? Something isn't right. And if you had come up with the 30 here, right? If you had said, hey, this is 30, then you had a pair. Now you would have a pair, sine of 30 over 7, right? And so it turns into a totally different question. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples so you can kind of learn how I go about them. Okay, next. I hope you tried these. Okay, it's not just gonna like happen for you if you don't practice. Okay. A boat leaves the dock in the direction east 40 degrees south for 3 miles. So we've got direction and distance. It turns, then heads in a different direction, distance again. Okay. Determine the direct distance from the dock to the boat's current position. So again, on your study sheet, perhaps you have a little north, south, west, east scenario. So you know, okay, if I go, watch this, I'm going to use this to just rehearse before I leave. East, 40 south, right? So I'm going, if you look at my pencil up there, I'm going in this direction. And I'm going to travel. And then what does it say? East, right? East, and then 80 north. So I'm going to go that way next. So I'm kind of expecting something like this, like a V here. So I'm going to start somewhere up here. And on my starting point, I'm going to draw a compass rose right across. And I would encourage you to make sure it's like not too curved and wavy, because then you don't see. So if you need a ruler, you go for it. So this is my start. East 40 south. So that means I start on my east line and I turn 40 degrees south. And where's my ruler? So I'm going to draw my line, not too long, but there you go. And I'm going to put the 40 in here. And I'm going to go 3 miles for that side. And then again, I turn here. And you go east 80 north. So I'm going to do a compass rose again. And remember, if you look up here, this east-west line or west-east line is the same as this east-west line. They're parallel. So are the north and south lines. Okay, so always remember that. Now we're going east 80 north. So east, I start on my east line, I'm going to turn 80 degrees. So remember there's a 90 here. So 80 is like quite a ways. Right, if this is 80 degrees, then I draw my line. And I go for 5 miles. What makes more sense, to make it longer or shorter than this one? It's longer, right? So I'm going to shoot past it, watch. If I put my ruler here, I'm going to shoot past the starting, like the starting has the east-west line right here. I'm going to make sure I go past it because I'm never told that I line up perfectly where I started with. So this is end. And this is 5 miles. And now you can, sure, you know what, I'm going to use a red pen to close this, okay, because we want ultimately, we want to close it. So from my starting point to my end point, that is the ultimate question, right? How far are you as your current position from where you started? This is the dock. So if you want to put dock here, that's fine. In brackets, dock. But I started there. So now you have to be very careful in making your clean version. Okay, so here, let's try to copy this one. So I'm going to do this. Let's bring it over here. Copy that one. And then this is my last one here. Oops. This is the ultimate question. I can confidently bring the 3 miles and the 5 miles over. And now what? This isn't 80 for sure. Like you cannot say that this is 80 because 80 is like outside this angle that I transfer. So what can we do? Well, you see this 40 here? The 40, this is your east line right here. But you can do something with it. You can transfer that over to here, okay, using alternate interior angles. And now you have both angles that are surrounding the one you want, and you know that, right? There's a 180 across the bottom here. So let's go ahead and do that. 100 minus 40 minus 80. That's 60 degrees. Again, I'm going to highlight that this is the one I want here. So this is 60 degrees. Let's transfer some letters maybe. I'm going to say this is S, E, T. So if you want to be specific, this is angle T that you're doing the work here for. And so interpretation, clean. Now you've got, why is it SAS again? Didn't think this one through, did I? Anyways. And so we're just solving for x again. So x squared is 3 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 3 times 5 cosine of 60. X is root of 19 is a round number. X is 4.36 miles. And the next one is actually tricky. It's not very common, but I'm going to let you copy this first. And then we'll try this one. State the compass direction. Okay, so example, they want you to say, right, like north 50 degrees east or something like that, right? Just an example, like want to actually write the compass direction from the dock to the boat's current position. From the dock to the boat's current position. So let me tell you what it's asking. Let's go back to the dock, which is right here. What would be the compass direction that you would state that would point you towards where you end up here? Like the straight, so if you had to send like a helicopter to rescue that vessel, like what compass direction would you know? And so the answer is you want to know this chunk right here. So I'm going to copy this over. I'm not going to use a ruler on this one. Remember, this was our east line. We know that this is 40. We want to know this. Sorry, I wasn't looking, so you were left in the dark. How would I know for sure based on the situation, this is the dock, this is the current position. Okay. I know for sure that it will be east something north, right? It'll be, I will start measuring from the east line and I will have to figure out how many degrees do I turn north. So this is what I want, question mark. That's what I want. And can I ask you to fill this in here? So I'm going to say that we know that this is 5 miles. We know that this is 3 miles. We now know that this is 4.336 miles. We know that. We know that this is 60 degrees. So what law could we use? What's my approach going to be? This is my approach. I'm going to figure out this whole angle. The whole angle from end to end. I'm going to take away 40 from it. And then I will know how many degrees go in here. And then I can fill in this gap. That's going to be my approach. We have side, side, side. So you could use cosine law. We've got a pair here. So you could use sine law. I'm going to use cosine law because of there might be an issue here which you don't know about yet. That'll come later. But I'm going to use cosine of angle D for dock is going to be, I got to make sure the 5 squared goes at the end. And then it's 3 squared plus 4.36 squared. 2 times 3 times 4.36. I don't know the answer to this one, so I'm going to have to calculate this. I do know the answer, but it's, I don't know. I don't have this intermediate step. So that'd be 9 minus 25, 3.0096. And then it's at the bottom, it's 6 times 4.36. It's 2616. So angle D would be cosine inverse of what I get when I divide these two. So 0.115 and something. I'm going to take the inverse, cosine inverse, I should say, of that. And I get 83.39 something. And for this question, honestly, I would round. I will round to the nearest whole degree. So I'll say 83. So I go 83 minus 40. That leaves me with 43 degrees. Therefore, I'm going to go east 43 degrees towards the north. This is the direction you should travel. This is a rare instance, but it can be done. You just have to do a bit more work when that happens. All right. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So let's go to 64 here. I've taken the time. You're the first group that sees this. Because, yeah, students struggle with this one to a certain degree. So I was nice to you here on this one. But I'm curious to see how you go from the interpretation to the clean version, because that's where I see the biggest issues. Students are pretty good at setting this up, but then when they make their clean triangle, that's when a lot of information is transferred that shouldn't be transferred, particularly the angles. They just take all the angles over to the new one. It's like, voila, right? I've got my triangle. So read the question. Read the question. Make sure you read it. Does it make sense how I set up my diagram? I don't know if you want to grab a highlighter and be like, okay, east 30 north. Where is that? I start walking. So I start east 30 north. So that's that angle right there. Okay, got it. For 1.8 miles, that one I don't think you need to highlight. And then it says turns in the direction south 50 degrees east. South 50 degrees east. Okay, that's this one right here. Okay, so I've got the angle there and the distance. How far is the hiker from the starting point? So what I want you to do is you can use this, you can make little notes and find angles that are missing, but I want you to create a clean triangle. A clean triangle that has, can I say something? Usually you're just gonna have one angle. Most of the time you're just gonna have one angle inside that clean triangle that you can derive from this one. And so I want you to make a clean triangle. Don't solve just yet. I just want you to focus on the clean triangle. So there's this one, there's another one down here. I want you to also come up with a clean triangle. Leave some room to solve, okay, down the road. And then the backside has some more. So I've got 4 different scenarios that you will encounter today. And I'm curious to see how you go from the interpretation. Make sure you read and make sure that jives with you, that you make sense, and then create your clean triangle. That's for the next little bit. That's what I want you to do. Got it? Start now. And then I'll go over it back. So, okay, so your homework is 64, 65. But I think then you need to also get your get up and practice without any guidance. So I'm gonna see here. Oh wait, my page numbers are off. 64, 65. I'll pause it for a bit. Page 68. To do at least one that has no help, like no diagram to start, okay? So 64, 65 is what you're doing right now, and then I will probably post a bunch of keys around it. Have a good day, guys.